Welcome everybody to 3 Count Commentaries. What did we learn about AEW Revolution and AEW Dynamite from March the 11th, 2026? Well, I learned that AEW has a pay-per-view this Sunday, which I really didn't know. And I'm surprised it's on a Sunday. Can't believe it. We learned that Brody King is strong enough to break a chain. We're going to learn a little bit about Persephone. We're going to talk a little bit about her. We learned that you need a nuclear bomb to beat Speedball Mike Bailey from time to time. It's not consistent, of course. And we learned that Dave Meltzer is in the house because it's in San Jose. And the one thing we learned is Dave Finlay. He's a guy on the roster among a bunch of other guys on the roster already. So let's talk about this. Now, instead of doing a review of Dynamite, I'm going to do a mixture of a review of Dynamite along with a prediction for AEW Revolution. Simply put, there was not a lot of stuff on this show worth discussing. And if I was to do a review, I would be dragging it out on purpose. Okay, so I'm going to mention Dynamite. Going to talk about things that happened on the show. I'm not going to completely leave you hanging, but we're really going to lean a lot towards Revolution. And we're going to start with the attendance for Revolution. So, for starters, let's talk about the attendance for Dynamite. So, WrestleTix had about 2,400 people in this building. That's 2,400 people for this episode of Dynamite / Collision, because I believe they're taping Collision same night. And that's terrible. This is the flagship program. I thought the gap was closing, bruh. Of course, Dave Meltzer was there. I don't begrudge Dave Meltzer for going to wrestling shows. I know some people are going to be like, oh, he's a propagandist. I call him out for his propaganda. I don't think there's a necessity to attack the guy just for going to a wrestling show that's in his hometown. So what? Let's talk about Revolution, though. So, AEW Revolution, March the 15th. Crypto.com Arena, Los Angeles, California. They did a current setup of 10,831. So, they expected almost 1,100 people. And they distributed 10,100 tickets. Now, distributed means comps and sales. So, I would imagine the prices are going to drop. They may get to 1,100 if this is accurate. They may get to 11,000. Well, I keep saying 1,100. 11,000 people. They might get there. It's possible. Okay? So, 10,000 is solid. 11,000 is not bad. AEW is doing pay-per-views, so 11,000 for a pay-per-view is not terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, let's get into Dynamite, and then we'll get into Collision, where these two things cross paths. So, the Don Callis family defeated the Death Riders defeated Don Callis family. I could not bear to sit through another Don Callis family versus Death Riders match. I mean, we have been force-fed these things for 2 months now. I hate this pairing. And then it's always Hechicero, who never, ever, ever wins. And it doesn't matter. Then the match ended with a small package. Oh, Lord. Have mercy. Lord, have mercy. After the match, the Don Callis family jumped to the Death Riders, beat them up. Moxley got his ass kicked, and the Don Callis family was holding him so that Takeshita could hit him with a chair. Takeshita, however, is an honorable samurai and refused to do so, leading to some friction with the other members of the Don Callis family, but he's trying to be a good boy. He wants to do things the right way, and he wants to beat Jon Moxley for himself. He wants to do it for himself. He doesn't want to do this with help. Now, they've been teasing this Takeshita babyface run for how many months? Because it started with his initial feud with Okada, which actually was before December. I think that was in the summer, probably late summer, early fall, where him and Okada started having these issues. And then eventually they had the match in a tournament that ended up being a complete throwaway. And then that feud was over magically. And now he's doing this. I don't know, man. I'm not going to pretend like I cared about this match. I'm not going to pretend that I care about the 2 matches that is featured on the pay-per-view that features all of these players. I just don't care. All right, the Death Riders are incredibly boring. Moxley swears this is the best thing he's ever done in his life. That just goes to show that he has zero instincts, zero ball knowledge, and he's out of tune with what wrestling fans want to see. People don't want to see Wheeler Yuta, dog. I know you think so, but you'd be wrong. All right, you got to get better instincts than that. The folks are not clamoring to see Wheeler Yuta. Now, on the pay-per-view, Konosuke Takeshita will wrestle Jon Moxley for the Continental Championship. No time limit. The last time these two wrestled in a ring, there was a time limit draw. Now Takeshita will get a shot to actually beat Jon Moxley and beat him on his own. I would imagine this is regular Continental rules, which will ban all outside interference. So this one's going to go a while. I expect this match to eat up a whole lot of time because Moxley thinks he's fucking Luthez or something. He thinks he's Nick Bockwinkel. And somebody needs to tell him the truth. Like, what you think you are in your head and what you actually are definitely 2 different things. And you should wrestle more like, if you love Terry Funk so much, you should be more like Terry Funk. And I don't mean Terry Funk in 1970 something. I mean like Terry Funk in the 80s and Terry Funk in the 90s, We shouldn't be having like this guy out here for 30 minutes. I mean, it's just insane. He's not that good. In any event, Takeshita needs to win this match. I see him losing, however. I'm gonna go with Moxley winning. Now, the reason I go with Moxley winning is because I suspect very strongly that this will be the catalyst for Takeshita to finally leave the Don Callis family. Now, Tony Khan, a lot like Triple H, likes to drag things out forever. And it's entirely possible that there's almost no further movement on Takeshita leaving the Don Callis family after losing this match. But him choosing to fight honorably and losing seems like something that Don Callis might be able to work with. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Moxley winning. Now, the Don Callis family, Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis will wrestle Jet Speed, Jet Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey, along with Mystico for the Trios Championship. Okay. I mean, I guess. Look, it's in Los Angeles. It's Mystico. Maybe they put Mystico over in Los Angeles. It's entirely possible. Heavily Hispanic audience. They may tune in just for Mystico. And you know what? It was a humorous thing that occurred. I think it was last week, where AEW actually put Mystico on the bill. Like, they put his picture on the image for the show, and he wasn't featured at all. I don't think he wrestled on Collision either. They just threw Mystico's face on there, and he wasn't on. That's false advertising, bruh. Nobody called him out for that either. I think it was the Mexican fans that noticed it. But if I remember correctly, Mystico didn't wrestle on Collision, and they was using his face to sell tickets last week. Now, I could be wrong. I'm willing to accept the L if I'm wrong, but I don't think so, bruh. I think they false advertised Mystico last week. I think they did, bruh. Anyway, let's get back to this match. Let's see, Okada, Fletcher, and Mark Davis. So Mark Davis could always eat a pin, but they like pinning Kevin Knight. So I'm I'm going to go with the Don Callis family holds on to the trios titles. I don't think they won those titles just to lose them. I don't think so. Now, of course, the purpose of them winning the titles was to get Hangman out of this thing. So maybe they decided to switch Hangman with Michiko to put the belts back on Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. I don't like that idea, though. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Speedball Mike Bailey, he did get a taste of these guys. However, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say get a taste of them. He might take it the wrong way. But Speedball Mike Mullet, or as MJF called him, No Balls Mike Bailey. I thought that was so good. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Sometimes there's a burn in there that is so good, I can't believe that I didn't think of it myself. No Balls Mike Bailey. That's a good one. As MJF called him. He wrestled for the TNT Championship, wrestling Kyle Fletcher for over 20 minutes on this episode of Dynamite. 20 minutes of Kyle Fletcher versus Speedball Mike Bailey. And out of that whole 20 minutes, what we got was a Poison Rana on the ring apron by Mike Bailey to Kyle Fletcher, and a Poison Rana off the top rope from Mike Bailey to Kyle Fletcher. And that Poison Rana off the top rope did not look smooth. Now, Kyle Fletcher clearly wasn't hurt, but it didn't look great. It didn't look great. It really didn't. As usual, Speedball Mike Bailey matches eventually turn into a Jackie Chan fight scene where he throws a kick and you faint. He feints the kick and you flinch, and then he spins to something else. And, you know, it's really ridiculous and kind of goofy. But after 20 plus minutes, it was almost a time limit when Mark Davis came out. He tagged Speedball Mike Bailey, which led to a brain buster, and Kyle Fletcher won the match. This is so weird. It's just such a weird thing that you drop a guy on his head from the top rope, and that's not the finish. You give a guy what is the equivalent of a suplex, and that is the finish. It's weird to me that people don't look at that and just kind of like, what are you guys doing? Why are you dropping each other on your heads from the top rope or on the ring apron and just continuing to then beat each other with the equivalent of suplexes? What the hell? Why? Anyway, I like Kyle Fletcher. He tried his best here. Mike Bailey is just not interesting. The strike fest that he likes to do is not entertaining to me. I just don't like Speedball Mike Bailey. I just don't like him. Don't like him. It must be said. And so I said it. They had a standby match, which again is a misappropriation of what a standby match is. It's in the middle of the fucking show. Brody King killed a jobber with the Gonzo bomb. They did a segment where they said that he'd been searching for Swerve all night, looking for Swerve, can't find him, can't find the man. He just ain't looking in the right place. That's all that is. He shouldn't be easy to, shouldn't be hard to find, brother. Anyway, as Brody King was leaving, a masked man, another effing masked man in this business, popped out of the crowd and threw a chain around the neck of Brody King and choked him. Obviously, this masked man was Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland took a couple of shots on Brody King, threw him in the ring, started choking him with the chain again, and then with his incredible strength, Brody King snapped the chain. After the chain snapped, Swerve Strickland reacted like a Looney Tunes character, tried to flee, got caught, beat up, and choked out by Brody King while everybody barked, and it all seemed like it was going to go perfectly fine Brody King's way. Look, man, let's talk about this chain breaking. Okay. For starters, that chain broke entirely too easy for it to be the same chain that we've been lynching people with for weeks on end, because he applied very little pressure in order to snap that thing. It's like he broke a Twizzler in half. Like can we at least make it look somewhat legitimate? I'm all for inhuman feats of strength. Go ahead and bend, skillets and flip over cars and break chains and do all of that stuff. But add just a little struggle to it. Just a little, We need a little bit of struggle. A little bit of grit. That's all I'm asking for, dog. So these guys are going to wrestle at the pay-per-view. I will appreciate that AEW is not completely dropping the idea of Brody King. Usually, after somebody fights for the title, the company, kind of forgets they exist and they move on to something else. But they've been consistent with Brody King. They keep doing the same thing. He comes out there, does a quote-unquote standby match that he wins incredibly quickly, and then he moves on to whatever storyline thing he's doing. So they're trying to see which is the most dangerous man in AEW. And a regular singles match, I don't think is going to solve that problem, but it doesn't really matter that much. Narratively, these are two guys who want to fight, and these are two guys who want to get violent. But you have to start somewhere. They're going to start with a singles match between these two. No doubt they're going to get to, blowing each other up with sticks of dynamite eventually. But I think Swerve Strickland needs to win this match because he needs his momentum to continue. It doesn't really hurt Brody King at all to lose. I mean, actually, I'm not sure because he did lose the last big match he was in against MJF. So you might say, why beat him again? I see why you might say that. So it might make more sense for Brody King to win. And but at the same time, it depends on where you're going. How long is this feud going to go? Because I don't think this feud is a one-off. It's March. They're going to have a pay-per-view in April as well. I don't think Kenny Omega will be back by then. Well, he might be. Maybe you have Swerve beat Brody King, and then you return Kenny Omega now that he's done doing whatever he's doing in Japan. I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up, but I truly believe that Swerve is more than likely going to win this match. It just makes a lot more sense to me. Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin defeated by Dave Finlay and Gabe Kidd. So Dave Finlay and Gabe Kidd, they're guys on the show, of course, the Dogs. And for some reason, Gabe Kidd is pretending to be a dog and sniffing the mat. Since I don't know what's going on with this guy. Look, I'm gonna put it in plain English. This is not the country to be a mediocre white man in. All right, you can do that in Japan because there's so few of you. But when you're in the United States or Europe or somewhere like that, you have to do something to stand out. Just being mediocre white dude, it's like you're in a company full of these people. There's no functional difference between Gabe Kidd and pretty much anybody else on the roster. Same thing with David Finlay. It's functioning. There's no persona. There's no character. There's nothing that jumps off the page. Gabe Kidd he's trying to be a wild man. That's what they're going for here. But he's not really believable. And plus, there's another guy. Oh my goodness. Mad Dog Connolly. He works on the indies. He's much better at doing this than Gabe Kidd. He's smaller though, I think. But he's much better at being like the sort of wild, unhinged dude. He's much better at it than Gabe Kidd. He's not good enough. Obviously, we've seen everything that Orange Cassidy can do. I don't care about Orange Cassidy. He's one of the guys that if Tony Khan didn't like dressing up as Orange Cassidy for Halloween, he probably wouldn't still be on the show. And Darby Allin is a guy who has so shot himself in the foot that I don't think he has any feet left. He's starting shooting himself in the thigh because he just shot his feet off. He shot both shins. He shot both knees. Like every opportunity that they give him, he goes off and starts doing goofy shit and then misses the boat. I don't know. I don't understand. I've never seen a guy who has the potential to be great, but don't have like a drug addict, a drug problem or something like that. Like you can always say like Jeff Hardy or Rob Van Dam. They had the potential to be some of the biggest stars in the business, but they couldn't let the drugs go. Even though for RVD it was just weed, but you just couldn't let it go. Attitude was also an issue. But Darby Allin is in the perfect place for him to succeed. They want to make him a star, but he just absolutely has to go set himself on fire, go set somebody else on fire, go climb a mountain, go dig a ditch. He's got to go do something because wrestling is not that important. And it's very bizarre that they built an entire storyline around making him the world champion, and he left. That was it. He took off. That was crazy. If that were me, if I was the boss and I done built this entire storyline around you being the superhero that's going to come in and save the day. The Death Riders were supposed to be the NWO and Darby Allin was supposed to be Sting. That's what it was supposed to be. Except Darby did not come back. He climbed Mount Everest and then went and did a bunch of other shit and paid no heed to what AEW was doing. And for people who claim that they love AEW so much, I love it so much, they always seem to miss the opportunity to take responsibility on that motherfucker, right? So if I was Tony Khan, I wouldn't even have Darby Allin pushed. I would probably have him at the bottom of the goddamn card. So he probably is exactly where I would put him for the level of responsibility that he can handle and the amount of trust I would have in him as a talent to build a show around. But Dave Finlay and Gabe Kidd, they beat Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin because another guy jumped from the crowd. This time, the evil clone of Hangman Page, Clark Connors. He hit Orange Cassidy in the back of the head with a tire iron while Orange Cassidy was outside the ring. This led to Darby Allin getting pinned by the dogs. Another thing, I want to talk about this real quick. David Finlay did a Dominator. Now, that might not mean nothing to you, but the Dominator is a black man's move. My right hand shivered a little bit because I never seen a white man do a Dominator on purpose. Never seen him do it on purpose. I was shocked, waylaid by that whole ordeal. So out of this situation, the dogs beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. They hold Orange Cassidy up as Roderick Strong, who walked out on Darby Allin, was it 4 weeks ago, on a tag match or something. He walked out on him. So they've been looking for Roderick Strong ever since. So here's Roderick Strong. He's back. He gets in the ring, and Dave Finlay is like, yeah, we got him. Kick his ass. And then, of course, Roderick Strong attacks Dave Finlay and helps Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin fight off the dogs. And why did he walk out on Orange Cassidy 3 or 4 weeks ago? Why did he walk out? Remember, he said he didn't want to be a member of whatever they were doing. He didn't want no parts of it. Now, all of a sudden, he wants to be friends with Orange Cassidy. Is I missing something? Did something happen on Collision that explained this? Because it seemed like they were building up an Orange Cassidy Roderick Strong fight, and now all of a sudden they're buddies. Look, I don't care. It's just I don't like confusion. God is not the author of confusion, man. Tony Khan is. What is this? And then the pay-per-view, they're doing a 6-man tag. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong versus Dave Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd, which was basically the match that they set up here. I don't care who wins. Now, I would imagine the babyfaces are going to win because the dogs, they won this match. Okay? So I would imagine we're just going to trade victories. So the baby faces, Darby, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, they're going to beat the dogs, which doesn't make sense because they're fairly new. So in reality, the dogs, they should probably win. You know? I don't know, man. I don't get it. But allegedly, I'm pretty sure this is a kayfabe answer. Dave Finlay was asked why he didn't go to NXT or to WWE. And he said he never made any money with his brother and his father, but he made tons of money with Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd. Which, respectable answer. I don't hate that answer. Perfectly acceptable answer. I'm doing the Stone Cold Steve Austin, the lean back in the chair with the hands up, like, hey, you're working or you're shooting. I don't know, man. It don't matter anyway, bro. Oh boy. Oh brother. Okay. What we got next? Persephone versus Willow Nightingale. This was the only match on the show that I watched all the way through, because I was not that familiar with Persephone. I've seen her here and there, but I don't think I ever watched a whole match and paid attention to it. So I wanted to give her my full undivided attention here. So I watched this match, and it was fairly solid. It was a fairly solid match. It wasn't like my favorite Willow Nightingale match I've ever seen, but it wasn't bad. Persephone is pretty good. I was frustrated by multiple things involving Persephone, by the way. Chief among them was that she just beat Mercedes Moné for that CMLL women's title. I think she beat her over the weekend for it. And then her first Dynamite, they immediately beat her. So they didn't even give her a chance to build any momentum from beating Mercedes. What kind of partnership is that? Oh yeah, we're going to beat your world champion. Yeah, after she beat one of our top girls, and instead of letting you build off of that, we're going to immediately bring her over here and beat her with a mid-card girl. And I was like, why? That makes no sense. Why would you do that? Anyway, I love Willow, so I'm not going to disrespect Willow. It's just bad timing. I wish they would have done this before Persephone won the title and not after it. And they built this match off of the idea that both of these people beat Mercedes. That was the plan. But again, Persephone just won that belt. I guess it don't matter, right, bro? Bros, do it matter? No? Okay. I'll lay off. We'll talk about Persephone more in a second, because there is more to this that I want to discuss. I'm not letting this dog go. You're not letting this one go. But let's move on to Willow real quick. So after her match with Persephone, Willow challenged Lena Cross to a match for the TBS title. Told her to come get some. And this match is going to be on the pre-show. I don't understand that. Why is this match on the pre-show? And I looked at the card, and I saw that, holy guacamole, both of them are wrestling twice, because they're having a tag team championship match on the same show. So Lena Cross and Willow Nightingale are going to wrestle each other on the pre-show, and then Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron are going to wrestle Megan Bayne and Lena Cross on the pay-per-view. Okay? Now, I looked at this card. When I checked this card earlier, it was 10 matches. I came back after Dynamite. It's 13 matches. Okay? This show, and it's being held on a Sunday. This show is going to go into Tuesday afternoon, man. We're going to be watching this show at work. Right? We're going to need a time clock. I'm going to need minimum wage if I'm going to be watching these fucking shows, man. All right? You're going to have to give me a 1099 or something. Put something on the 401k. Because we might as well start punching the fucking clock. 13 matches. I know. Hey, Mongo, you say 5 is not enough. You say 4 is, blah, blah, blah. But 13, brother? With some of these matches guaranteed to go 15 minutes or something like that. And I know some of these matches are going to end up on the pre-show, and you don't got to watch the pre-show. I get it. But you're going to burn out the people in the building. How about we do that? Tony, all you need to do, pick one of these matches, and then put the other one on Dynamite. That's all you need to do, man. I'm going to go with Willow winning both matches. She's obviously not... Lena Cross is too new. They're not going to put the TBS belt on her. They might put the tag team titles on her, but I doubt it. So I'm going to go with Willow defeats Lena Cross on the pre-show. And Willow and Harley Cameron beat Megan Bayne and Lena Cross on the pay-per-view as well. I don't know why we're doing both of them on this show. It's just not necessary. It really isn't. All right, before we get into the rest of the card, I want to stop for 1 second to talk about Persephone. The wrestling media hoodwinked me, guys. They really did. See, back in January of 2026, Wrestling Observer runs a headline saying that Persephone was all elite after WWE showed interest in her. Okay? And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's another one of those WWE loses a free agent. Wow, this was crazy. WWE was so interested in her after Forbidden Door. These theories are everywhere. I'm like, okay, that's something. And then, after she signs, they do a very short clarification. What you have to clarify, Brian Alvarez? Here's what he said. I am told Persephone did not pick AEW over WWE because she never actually got a WWE offer. She had been under CMLL contract and hasn't been able to talk to WWE at all. So you went through this whole thing, and it was multiple wrestling websites saying that WWE was trying to sign this girl. They were saying this stuff all over the place in January, December, etc. She signs with AEW. They hype her up as being this huge free agent that AEW got, and they know talent. Turns out WWE couldn't even talk to her if they wanted to because she's under CMLL contract. Well, that's a slap in the fucking face. But then here's the weird thing. Last week, literally before she defeated Mercedes Moné, before she was even booked for this match against Willow Nightingale, she does an interview with Sean Ross Sapp. And this is what, listen to this. This was from Sean Ross Sapp. Persephone tells me she had no direct conversations with WWE and learned of their interest online. So she, who is this highly sought after free agent, didn't even know whether WWE was interested in her or not. She learned about it through social media like the rest of us. So this thing is complete fucking AstroTurf. Complete fucking AstroTurf. You AstroTurf this hype for this girl. It's fake. It's fugazi. It's cubic zirconia. It is not real. It's complete basura shaisa. And completely unnecessary. It is completely unnecessary for you to AstroTurf this kind of attention for this wrestler. You didn't need to do that. And then you went through the trouble of AstroTurfing this. And then Tony Khan didn't even use her until March. You went through all this shit in December and January, and she didn't even make Dynamite until March. What is the point of all this shit, man? This stuff drives me nuts because we keep being told the same garbage over and over again. Okay? WWE is lowballing talent. The AEW pays better. This talent is choosing AEW over WWE. And it turns out this talent is under contract to somebody else. Had no conversation with WWE at all. Doesn't even know if WWE was trying to talk to her or not. Because she couldn't talk to them. And she found out through the internet. So through the gossip line. Absurd. Absolutely fucking absurd, man. I'm not surprised. Because they're running another complete AstroTurf story right now. Ringside News, Fightful, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Inside the Ropes, and WrestleZone. So many of them are running this story about Ricky Stark's segment, the Absolute Experience, being taken off of WWE social media. Oh, it's been taken down because fans hated it so much. You go to WWE social media, the fucking segment is right there. You go to the YouTube channel, the fucking segment is right there. They're just lying for no reason. So it's like either astroturfing hype for wrestlers nobody knows, or you're just flat out fucking lying. But you're upset that ESPN won't put grades on WWE shows anymore. Who gives a fuck? ESPN does business with WWE. Who cares? Why are all of these wrestling websites telling us that we can't see a segment on social media that we're watching on social fucking media? Why are you telling me WWE is showing interest in a talent that they can't talk to, that they have not talked to? What are you doing? You're fucking lying. This is why I go so hard on the wrestling media. I hate these fucking guys, man. And they're our only source of information. The only source of information you have for wrestling is this web of horseshit. You got to critically think your way through the world, man. I promise. God damn it. God damn it. These people suck. They suck bad, dog. This was some of the most embarrassing shit. Because I remember as I was watching her wrestle, I was like, man, WWE was interested in her. I see why they might be. She got a decent size to her. She speaks English because she's born in Texas. And that's what made me look. I'm like, okay, when was WWE interested in this girl? And that's when it all just kind of came together at once. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Let's talk about some non-relevant matches, and then we'll get to the main event. So they also booked FTR versus the Young Bucks. So that's for the World Tag Team Championship on the pay-per-view. This is going to be long. I don't even watch Young Bucks matches. I'm not even going to lie to you. They do too much. They're trying too hard. I don't care. You know, and FTR likes to play with them when they wrestle. They do all the same stuff, so I don't care about this. It'll probably be FTR winning. Probably. Now, on the show, Dynamite, they did a 6-man tag. FTR and Tommaso Ciampa defeat Mark Briscoe and the Young Bucks. Mark Briscoe was pinned in that match because they turned Tommaso Ciampa heel over the weekend. And I don't know why. I don't know why Tommaso Ciampa wrestled Daniel Garcia or somebody like that. And then they recreated the attack on NXT, which I didn't lose any sleep over. I mean, who cares if they recreated it? Who gives a shit? The problem here is, why is there no explanation for why Tommaso Ciampa decided to turn heel? He just did. And then Ciampa's not on this show anywhere either, from what I'm looking at the card currently. Now, he might slide on here somewhere, but I don't see Tommaso Ciampa booked on this show at all. But Ciampa and Mark Briscoe, they're feuding. Okay. Everybody in this match just looked old, you know? It just looks like your grandpa and your uncle fighting. That's what it looked like. I don't get it. I don't know why everybody has to look grizzly and old. I mean, it works for Ciampa, you know, where he got that gray stuff, but he got that sinewy body where he got, you know, his muscular and stuff. Not super muscular, but, you know, he looks like he works out. And Mark Briscoe looks like a farmer, which, you know, what he is. And he's missing his teeth, so there's an element of bar fighter there. But it's just so much gray in the beards, and I'm just kind of like, man, enough's enough. You know, like, enough's enough, man. Like, just call it a day. But Ciampa and Briscoe are feuding. I'm just gonna throw my hands up. Okay, maybe they'll main event the Ring of Honor show coming up. Who knows? But I got FTR beating the Young Bucks on the pay-per-view. All right, there's some ancillary matches that were not touched on Dynamite, because they seem to be collision shit. One is Ricochet versus Tommaso. Oh, Tommaso Ciampa's in that show. It's a 21-man blackjack battle royal for the AEW National Championship. I don't know what this means. Is this over the top rope, pinfalls and submissions? I don't know. But is Ricochet defending the title against 21 or 20 competitors? I don't know, man. Look, why? I'm floored that Ricochet would be in this situation. Like, why is he defending the title against 21 people? Or, I'm sorry, 20 people. You know, I don't know. Was the Blackjack Battle Royal explained? Probably not, right? So, they've only specified that Ricochet and Tommaso Ciampa is going to be in it. So, I'm going to just imagine Ricochet is going to win. This just feels like filler. It feels like filler. You know, it don't feel like there's nothing significant there. Andrade El Idolo, look at me. Bandito is just a fine. He's a mark for me. Versus Bandito. Another match that feels like filler. Probably could have just moved it to Dynamite. This is going to be fun, though, because I love both of these guys. I'm going to go with Andrade winning the match. Because he seems to have the most upside currently. So I'm going to go with Andrade El Idolo winning this match. The 2 out of 3 falls for the AEW Women's World Title, Tekla versus Chris Statlander. I love me some Tekla. She can talk her ass off. Tekla is really good at talking. I like her charisma. I like how... It's a shame she is not featured more on Dynamite, because she is legitimately good. And it's a shame Chris Statlander isn't featured a lot. I don't know what they've done to her, where they've stripped her of all of her personality, and now she just kind of stands there like, you know, the chick from The Matrix, and she doesn't say much, she doesn't do anything. Now this match is 2 out of 3 falls. You would think that on the flagship show, your women's world title would be featured, but it wasn't. You know, because Tekla is a collision talent. So, I mean, that just means she's a B tier talent, which sucks. You know, Statlander, somebody needs to throw her a life jacket. She got to get out of AEW, man. She got to get out of there. I don't think she's going to be happy in AEW. You can't be happy at this. Look at how they're booking her. Statlander is about to go the same way as Riho and Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker and, you know, some of the other, Thunder Rosa, where Tony Khan is just, that toy has gotten a little old. Time to put it in the box and it might slink down to the bottom, along with Taya and Deonna Purrazzo and all of the other ones. I just don't see him keeping Chris Statlander in the fold once she doesn't win the title back. And Tekla has been on a roll. There's no need to take the belt from her right now. So keep the belt on Tekla. You know, if for nothing else, you can try to build up somebody else to face her, and just keep the belt on Tekla. Big Boom AJ is going to be in a match. I wish he wouldn't. They should rethink this. Why do they keep putting this guy on matches and he doesn't work TV? Like, what is the purpose of putting him? Like, what? How are you doing cross promotions if nobody knows who this guy is? But Mongo, he's got 42 million followers on the TikTok. I don't care. I can't put Guy Fieri on a fucking show without building him up in a fucking match. And I don't care how many people watch Diners, Drives, and Dives. That shit is irrelevant. We want to know why this is happening. Why is Big Boom AJ featured on the show? To do what exactly? I don't care. Timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir. Everyone is banned from ringside. Boy, how the mighty have fallen. This feels like here nigga damn match. We gotta put Timeless Toni Storm on here somewhere. So Marina Shafir, yeah, go ahead and you'll be the opponent. Yeah, whatever. Tony is gonna win. I don't know why they're doing this. I would feel bad for Tony, but the way people dog out Mariah May, it makes me not feel bad for Tony. It makes me want to point out how shitty the booking for Tony has been since Mariah left. And this is just a continuance of that. They put Tony in a tag team with Mina Shirakawa, who has looked more incompetent than any wrestler on AEW's roster. The guy that Brody King beat up on this show looks to have been more competent than Mina Shirakawa. Mina Shirakawa just jiggles. I mean, she's a dime to be almost 40, but all she does is jiggle and lose. And her matches are barely competitive. I don't know what her finisher is. I don't know when the last time she's won a match on this show. I don't know when the last time she won a match in this company. She's just there. All right? I don't get it. And this is Toni Storm's tag team partner. And they constantly lose. I think they lost again over the weekend. Very bad situation that Toni Storm finds herself in. Trapped in a feud with somebody who got the personality of cauliflower. It's not making for a good time, dog. I mean, her character's kind of one note where it's all sexual horse shit. And now she's stuck with somebody who's got the sex appeal of a portobello mushroom. Get Marina Shafir out of here. I don't care how much Jon Moxley loves her. Get her out of here, dog. I don't care who she's married to. Get her out of here. She sucks. Ass. Dog shit. Now, let's finally move on to the final thing on the show that matters. The main event. Hangman Page, him versus MJF. They did a segment on Dynamite leading to this match. It was a press conference, a fake press conference with fake questions, boring fake questions that amounted to nothing. It took up a whole lot of time, seemingly went nowhere, and ended with MJF throwing beer on Hangman Page and a short brawl that MJF fled from. This was terrible. All right, this was very bad, not good. I don't know why they did this. They tried to make you feel like a sporting event, but it's a fight to the death. It's literally called a Texas death match. They did a vignette that was before this press conference, and I think actually did a better job selling this match as it went through the entire history of both guys the entire time they've been in AEW. That was better than these guys talking, I would assume, live in front of an audience trying to sell this match. They did a bad job selling this match. It was just a boring press conference. It sucked. Now, the rule of the match is it's Texas death. And if MJF wins, then Hangman Adam Page, him, can never challenge for the World Championship ever again. Allegedly. I say allegedly because I'm sure that MJF is going to win this match and they're going to find some way of getting Hangman Page back in the conversation. And here is my view of this never challenging for the world title again. In the past, you would have a loser leaves town match. It was never permanent, right? The guy would leave town and he would leave town for a specified, sometimes they would specify like he got to leave town for 90 days and then he'll go work another territory, come back 3 months later. He's banned from the territory for 60 days. Other times it would be a loser leaves town and he'd be gone for a while and then he just come back, and you'll find some back doorway for him to come back or whatever. He comes back under a mask. He comes back, under a different name or something like that as a way of, getting around the gimmick. If AEW is creative, they would do that here where maybe, you do something where Hangman loses. He can't challenge for the world title, but you put him in a situation where that's the reward for winning that match. Similar to what they just did with Cody Rhodes, where, there's a battle royal or a poker chip or whatever poker chip match they might have, or a blackjack thing, the casino theme stuff, they roll the dice challenge or whatever the fuck. And Hangman wins. And it comes with a world title match. And therefore, contractually, he has to break the contract to get it. Or you could be campy, and the camp might say, Hangman loses, and he comes back under a mask, and he's not Hangman Adam Page, but Hangman. Him. And he's wearing a hood, just like a regular mask or something like that, and pretends to be a completely different person. And this completely different person, like the Midnight Rider, or what was the name of the character when Junkyard Dog used to be banned from the territory? He would wrestle under a mask. I forget what it was called, but everybody knew it was a Junkyard Dog, but they couldn't prove it. See, that's something WWE would do. Or Vince era WWE, that's something they would do. And AEW, I don't think they have the balls to be that campy, to have Hangman haunt MJF as a different character, maybe with a different look or something like that too, as a way of trying to force them to break the rule. And people are going to say, look, Hangman can turn heel by going back on his word. Yeah, you can create scenarios where you want the babyface to go back on his word. And if people love a babyface enough, he can break his word. And that's the unfortunate reality, is that if you love a babyface enough, he can cheat. And he can break his word. And he can go back on his word. But it depends quite often on whether the heel deserves it. Right? So MJF is a heel that would deserve it. That if you do something duplicitous to MJF, he deserves that and more. So leading him to believe that he's never going to have to wrestle Hangman Page ever again is one way of doing things. And then you do some gimmick where it ends up happening again. Not anytime soon, obviously. Like the Cody thing, where, literally a month later he gets another title shot, which was terrible, right? But maybe 4 months later, maybe 5 months later, maybe 6 months later, maybe a year later. I mean, he's not going anywhere, right? The company's not going anywhere, right? You can plan these things out ahead of time. Either you could put him in a match where that's the natural rewards that he'll wrestle for the world title, and then he can struggle with the idea that he can never challenge for the world title again. MJF can plead his case and all that kind of stuff, and Tony Khan could say, nope, this is what happens when you win this match. You're the number one contender for the world title. Or you could subvert the rule by it being somebody else. Or you could do something where MJF drops the rule, meaning that something happens where MJF wants to fight Hangman Page, but Hangman Page won't fight him or can't fight him. And then MJF says, look, I'll even put the title on the line. I will throw away that stupid fucking rule so that you can fight for the world title. You can make MJF give it away. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go if you decide to go with Hangman losing. And Hangman should lose. He should not win this match. There's no logical reason why Hangman should win this match. But if he doesn't win, he can't challenge for the world title. Well, for starters, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Second, because he's not a draw as the world champion, and he's not interesting as world champion. Second, like I just said, there are ways around it. You could always go around these. There's only a handful of stipulations you should not be able to get around. Hair versus hair, hair versus mask. You can't get around those. But something like a you're fired match, you could fire the guy and then bring him back 3 weeks later. WWE's done that before. Other companies have done that before. Loser leaves town. Guy leaves town for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, comes back, whatever. Leaves just long enough for the fans to forget the rule, and then he comes back, or whatever the case may be. This is one of those rules where you can bend it later on. You know, it's not hard and fast. It's not a shoot rule. It's something you came up with to sell a show. It's not like, somebody's going to cut off your hands because you didn't keep your word about this one goddamn thing. And I'm not saying that Hangman Page's words breaking audience trust, but everything is kayfabe and they know it. So it is what it is. I will say this. It's an interesting predicament to be in, but they shouldn't have booked themselves into this corner. They really shouldn't. All right, so I got MJF winning. Let's go through my predictions without all of my jabbering, and then I got some more stuff I want to bring up here. So there's 13 matches listed for the show, and Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong versus the Dogs is one match, and I picked the babyface team: Darby, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong. The Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale versus Megan Bayne and Lena Cross for the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. And I picked Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. Timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir, and I picked Timeless Toni Storm. Big Boom AJ will be in action, and I suggested Big Boom AJ get fired into the sun. The AEW Trios Championship, the Don Callis family, which consists of Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, versus Mystico, Jet Speed, which is the Jet Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey. And I picked the Don Callis family to win. Tekla versus Chris Statlander, 2 out of 3 falls for the AEW Women's World Title. And I picked Tekla. Brody King versus Swerve Strickland, and I believe Swerve Strickland is going to win. Andrade El Idolo versus Bandito in a singles match, and I picked Andrade El Idolo. No time limit match for the AEW Continental Championship, Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita, and I picked Jon Moxley to win. FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team title, and I picked FTR to win. Willow Nightingale versus Lena Cross for the Women's TBS Championship, and I picked Willow Nightingale to win. 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW National title, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, and 19 other jabronis. And I picked Ricochet to win the match. So, that's the entire card. But here's something that I've been meaning to discuss for a little bit now. Where the hell is the Hurt Syndicate? Where are they at? See, back in December, they said that Bobby Lashley was hurt. About a week or so ago, Bobby Lashley did an interview and said that he wasn't hurt. But we ain't, even if Bobby Lashley was hurt, we ain't seen Shelton Benjamin or MVP in weeks. Where are they? What's going on there? I'm a fan of these guys. I'm wondering what's going on. I'm getting 2 times the Lena Cross, 2 times the Willow Nightingale. I'm being forced to sit through Young Bucks. I'm being told that I have to, if I want to watch this show, I must be subjected to Big Boom AJ. But there's no room for Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. Very, very interesting. I have not been a fan of how they've been treated in AEW. But there's no telling. Maybe Shelton's hurt. I mean, these guys are 50. They might just be tired. Body weary. Ain't what it used to be. Who knows? But I just noticed that these guys have been gone for a really long time, and you haven't heard anything from them, hide or hair, of any of them. And I want to express my disgust with that. But I also want to give AEW some credit because they actually brought Ian Riccaboni to do commentary for this episode of Dynamite. And he rapped on the Willow Nightingale theme song. And he popped me. I was already a fan, thought he was much better than Excalibur. But the fact that he's willing to show some personality, hey, I'm almost, and you know what? I'm going to completely forgive Ian Riccaboni for being a shithead towards Kevin Kelly, because Kevin Kelly was bad at his job anyway. So, Ian Riccaboni, you're okay with me, white boy. I like you. Please stay. Stay. Make yourself comfortable. I mean, Danielson is basically like a crash dummy out there. He just says nothing. He adds nothing to the show. But I like Ian Riccaboni, man. Hopefully he gets to call the pay-per-view. because I think the pay-per-view will be infinitely better if Ian Riccaboni is calling it. All right, this was very long. Now, because this show is on Sunday, I don't know. I may make a soup or something like that for dinner. My mom likes the chicken soup that I make. I might make her some and, make some for myself too. So I'm thinking about that in terms of what the meal might be. But I'm definitely concerned about this show being on a Sunday with 13 matches, even if it starts at 7 o'clock, because AEW tries to overfill everything. But let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you guys later, man. You guys stay blessed. Peace out.